He was a closeted psychopath who had never found a completely defenseless target. She was hurtling down a road, a dangerous path of sex, drugs, and alcohol, racking up one bad decision after another. One night in Lexington, Kentucky, these two people's lives would collide. What followed was a 6-month missing person search and a tragic and horrible discovery in an unsuspecting family's strawberry patch. Before we begin, we would like to extend our deepest sympathies to the friends and loved ones of Savannah Spurlock. It was Thursday night, January the 3rd, 2019, and 3 young men made plans to go out and take part in Thirsty Thursday offerings at bars in the neighboring city of Lexington, Kentucky. The 3 men worked together at a night shift job. They were looking to blow off some steam after a hard work week had ended. Cheap drinks, lots of young women, and hopefully some fun were all they were looking for. Sometimes, on nights like that, you can find what you're looking for, and sometimes you find something much more than that. In the nearby town of Richmond, Kentucky, 23-year-old mother Savannah Spurlock had just borrowed her mom's car. She told her mother that she was going out to pick up some food and that she would just be gone for a little bit. However, Savannah had other plans. She was going to grab a friend of hers, Jocelyn Hutch, and meet up with another friend, Dion Johnson, in Lexington. She wanted to have a night out on the town for herself. She needed to get away from her life for just a little bit. Savannah had a tough month prior to this evening. Almost a month before that night, she had given birth to twins, her 3rd and 4th children. According to a friend, she knew she was expecting a child, but didn't have an idea that it would be twins. After an undisclosed incident at the hospital, the twins were sent home with her ex-boyfriend, the father of the children, while she went back to live with her mother. Just 2 short weeks after that, Savannah would get arrested and charged with DUI. She was scheduled to have a court appearance on that charge on January the 7th of 2019. Savannah and her friend would drive to the 3rd friend's house, park her mom's car across the street. Savannah locked her large purse inside the car, taking a small clutch with her. It was getting chilly, but she didn't take a coat. They entered their friend's home and began to pre-game, drinking before heading out to the bars. By 1:30 a.m., they decided to head to downtown and the local bar scene. The 3 men I mentioned earlier met up in Lexington at the Two Keys bar, but decided to go elsewhere because there would be an expensive cover charge. Instead, they headed down to a place called The Other Bar. There, the 3 men settled in and started drinking Jack and Coke. Savannah and her friends also ended up at The Other Bar. There, she and her friends had a couple of drinks and met up with another friend, Kayla Hamlin. Hamlin would have a photo taken with her friends before she called it a night and went home. It also wasn't long before Dion announced his need to leave because he had a court date the next morning. Savannah and Jocelyn told him they would be fine, and he went on his way. Meanwhile, back in Richmond, Kentucky, some 25 miles away, Ellen Spurlock realized that Savannah was not planning on bringing her car home anytime soon, so she called the Richmond Police Department and reported the car stolen. Police in Richmond would be on the lookout for Savannah and the vehicle, but she was already well outside of their area of observation. Ellen would also contact as many of Savannah's friends as would answer and put them on the lookout for the young woman. Savannah and Jocelyn at The Other Bar proceeded to have a falling out and had to be separated by the club's bouncers, who warned them to quiet down or they would be asked to leave. As Savannah went on her own way, she began hitting on men around the bar. Jocelyn found a ride home and left for the night after Savannah assured her she could make it home fine on her own. David, Isaiah, and Brandon had just settled into their second round of drinks when Savannah came up and began flirting with the men. Last call would be coming soon, and the group decided to leave the bar. The night was still early for the 3 men who normally worked the night shift. Savannah didn't want to call it a night either, and the 4 decided to continue partying as a group. Brandon had just moved to the area from South Carolina and was staying with his family, so his place was out. Isaiah had just moved into an apartment and had no furniture yet, so that was out. They decided to head to David's house in Lancaster, Kentucky, a road trip of around 40 miles. Security video from a nearby parking deck showed the young woman and the men heading to their vehicles. This would be the last video of Savannah Spurlock. The two men and Savannah would head out, taking a slightly longer way back to David's house. David, alone, would take his black Chevrolet S10 pickup truck on a different route. As Savannah and the two men made the trip to David's house, Savannah's mom was finally able to get through to her on FaceTime. Ellen Spurlock would tell investigators that she could see Savannah was in someone else's car and she could see one of the two men she was with. Savannah then told her she was fine, she would get a ride back to the car and be home in the morning. The call ended and Savannah put her phone in airplane mode so Ellen could not reach her again. Savannah never made it home the next day, and it would be around 9 p.m. on Saturday the 5th when Ellen's car would be found by another friend of Savannah's. Ellen would call off the stolen car report and would make arrangements to have the car returned to her in Richmond. Savannah still wasn't home, but it wasn't completely unheard of for her to not come home right away. She didn't return the next day, Sunday, either, and there had been no texts and no updates to her social media pages. Now the worry kicked in, and a missing persons report was filed with the local Richmond Police Department, now with additional assistance from law enforcement agencies in Lexington, Kentucky, and all surrounding counties. Savannah would also miss her court date on Monday the 8th in Lexington for the DUI charge. Shots from the security footage taken at the parking deck were broadcast on local television stations and published in local newspapers, as well as online appeals for anyone who may have information. The three men in the video would rapidly be identified to local police and each would be brought in for questioning. David Sparks would be questioned by local and state investigators. Law enforcement agencies have chosen to black out the visuals on this interrogation. He would explain how they ended up back at his place and what happened once they got there.
We show up, we listen to music a little bit, she dances a little bit. Me and her walked back to the bedroom. She led me back there, so I followed. A little bit of foreplay with her finger and kissed a little bit. Eventually, throughout the night, after a few hours that we was there all together, everybody went back to the bedroom. But it was just in two, so it wasn't like all of us were back there. It was her and Isaiah, her and her and me.
Anybody get real far back in the bedroom, as far as you know?
Nobody spent more than 2-3 minutes back there. We basically just hung out, listened to music and stuff like that. Other than that, until
Drinking?
Yes, we was drinking Crown, just straight.
What, in shot glasses? Or in...
Yes, shot glasses.
Okay. Who was drinking?
Mainly me and her, because Brandon and Isaiah had to drive back. But me and her was on basically shot for shot. We was pretty drunk. I actually puked before Brandon and Isaiah left. I was in the bathroom throwing up. But
basically, he would explain that there had been some fooling around, but the men had not taken advantage of her when she passed out. He then continued his story.
It was probably around 5 o'clock. She was sitting there on my I got a love seat for reclines. She's kind of sitting there, and now she's kind of starting to daze in and out. I thought she was about to pass out, so we helped her back to my bedroom and decided just let her sleep, and then in the morning I would give her a ride home or whatever happened.
So y'all, who took her back into the bedroom?
Me and Isaiah did.
Like one on each side kind of thing?
Yeah.
Why? Because she was in and out of...
Yeah, she was passing
drunk?
Yeah, she was drunk.
Did she throw up?
She did not.
That you noticed?
Mm-hmm.
And okay. All right, did she keep her clothes on the whole time?
Yes.
So she had her clothes on?
Yep.
She didn't take her clothes off?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody ever took her clothes off?
No.
All right. So you put her in your bed. All right. What size is your bed? Is it a double, queen, king?
Queen.
What's that?
Queen size.
Queen size bed.
Mm-hmm.
It's your bedroom. Put her in there. Why'd y'all put her in there? As opposed to somewhere else?
I just figured I would give her a bed.
Right. Well, is it the best place to sleep in the house?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely the most comfortable.
All right. You turn off lights?
Yes.
Closed the door?
They hung out for another 15, 20 minutes, something like that. After that, they left to go back to Lexington. I fell asleep on my recliner, all the way up against the window. About 9:30, she woke me up, asking what the address was, so I gave it to her. I sat there.
You gave her that. How did she wake you up? Did she do like this or what?
No, she never got that close. She just kind of hollered at me, and I woke up.
What would you say? Hey?
Yeah, she said, kept saying hey. And I just kind of woke up, gave her the address. I was still,
Then what'd she do?
She turned around and went back into the bedroom. I heard the door close. I wasn't sure what she was doing.
What time morning was this?
It was about 9:30.
Give or take?
Yeah. I sat there. I was still pretty drunk, so I just kind of, I didn't mean to. I meant to stay up, but fell back asleep. I woke back up at 11:30ish, and Brandon the text asking how everything went. And I got up, and she wasn't there. My door was unlocked, and she was gone.
As investigators questioned David about his whereabouts, they also obtained a search warrant for his house in Lancaster, as well as for his S10 pickup truck and for his cell phone, which he surrendered to police. In addition, since the last place they had any evidence of anyone seeing Savannah was at David's house, Lancaster police canvassed the neighborhood looking for anyone who may have security camera footage. Perhaps they could corroborate David's story and they could see who came and went. This on and around January the 9th, just 5 days after anyone had seen Savannah. Brandon Lewis would also be questioned about what happened early that morning. He told investigators much the same story that David did. He gave a very explicit account of what happened, saying that each of the three men had individually gone into a bedroom with Savannah at some point during that evening. He said there had been quite a bit of physical contact, but as far as he knew, none of them had intercourse with her. The investigators would ask him how the night ended for him.
After David, we were walking there, looking at David or whatever. That's why I was saying, me and Isaiah was like, pretty much, it's a dead mission. You know what I'm saying? Like,
she's out.
Yeah, she out, motherfucking cold. So, hey, we about to go ahead and bounce. You know what I'm saying? You straight, I said it was straight, but you know what I'm saying? Threw up, and we had left. That was our involvement. Because once she was out, she, I ain't got no use for her. So, you're like, all right, bro. He's like, well, I'm gonna go ahead and, get my stuff and sleep on the couch. And we was like, yeah, probably best bet. And he was like, yeah, because I don't want her, waking up and then seeing a strange guy in the bed next to her and be like, what the fuck going on with Rule? And I'm like, yeah, probably the best bet. And we got left.
So did you think that he actually went and slept on the couch, even though it's not really a couch, it's got a center console, so at best it's a recliner.
Yeah.
So you can't lay down on it, right?
Yeah, it was definitely makes sense. Now.
So do you think he laid in the bed, or did you get the impression he was going out on the recliner?
Like, truthfully, at the time, I really was like, all right, you're going to sleep on the bed. But, like, when you just put it in that perspective, like real talk, like, you can't even stretch out
on
this fucking thing. So,
I don't need to sleep on.
I'm not entirely too sure if he actually slept on the couch. So,
Did you have that conversation with him?
Yeah, because he said, you know what I'm saying?
I'm talking after the fact. Next morning, did you have that conversation with him? In the days following.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the days following, you know what I'm saying? Everything he's told me, he's been adamant that he slept on the couch.
Okay.
But now that I think about his couch, I want to ask him, how did you sleep on the couch? Because, like you said, you can't stretch out. And then
Did you say you did ask him this?
No, I said now.
Oh, knowing what?
Yeah,
no,
like
now that you thought about
yeah,
it.
nah, like
Would ask him, how did you?
yeah, like because it's a center, it's a council thing in the middle. So and the thing is so close to the wall. I mean, you can recline it, but
you can't. Lay down.
You really can't. Yeah, you can't lay.
Right.
You can't lay back. So
yeah, he didn't sleep on the couch.
So he's sleeping straight up, or he's sleeping in the bed with her.
Yeah, one or the other. So I definitely.
She's not really going to be able to tell him any different at that point, because she's out like a lot.
Yeah, I'm talking about like a fucking dead fucking stick. Like she was cold. Like
she's breathing, but.
Yeah, I must say, she was up. She was just drunk as shit. Like,
yeah.
Is she alive when you leave the house?
Yeah, most definitely, yeah. I know she was alive, yeah.
The investigators pushed a little harder. Brendan might not have had anything to do with her disappearance, but maybe he knew more than he was letting on. They also decided to push hard on the idea that perhaps it was very likely that Savannah was not just missing, but that she had been murdered.
We know you don't want to have anything to do with it. But if you didn't have anything to do with it, to be honest with us.
Yeah, I really didn't, man. Like, I swear to God.
I'm going to tell you a story, man. I'm not going to say that this is the same account that would happen for you.
Like, word up, man.
But I'm just going to tell you, all right? I've worked cases before where somebody's died and a person has moved a body. And you know what? They got a fucking misdemeanor.
Yep.
Abuse of a corpse. A misdemeanor. Class A.
And I've worked a case where
she was wrapped up in a fucking tarp in the back of a truck. And they dumped her.
I've worked one where the person provided the vehicle that the person used to move a dead body. And that person who provided the vehicle, knowing what it was going to be used for, is already out of jail. And they're out walking around right now. So... I mean,
it's time to fucking tell the truth.
Yeah, but that's
whatever's holding you back, and you think it's so bad.
Nah, but
if you'll just tell us, it's probably really not that bad, because there really isn't anything that we haven't heard or seen of.
Yeah, but
that we haven't dealt with as far as when it comes to this kind of stuff.
The thing that we most was worried about was whether or not, you know what I'm saying, if she had alcohol poisoning or.
Good.
Or anything wrong with her, you know, along those lines. That was
if she had too much to drink.
Yeah.
Or what about if David was going to do something he probably shouldn't to a girl that wasn't awake and able to say no? Was that a worry? Or no? You can tell me either way. I don't care. If it didn't cross your mind, it didn't. You tell me.
Oh, I mean, it wasn't a worry, but it crossed our mind. You know what I'm saying? But
whether or not David did or didn't.
Yeah, or rather, what he wouldn't do by. You know what I'm saying? We wasn't there. Because, I mean, just like both of, you know what I'm saying, said, like...
Now, when did that cross your mind? When you were leaving, or...?
Yeah, we was walking out the door, and then Isaiah was like, you sure we should let that girl there? I was like, yeah, why? Like, I don't know. He's like, David really want to fuck her. And I was like, I mean, hell yeah, but, you know what I'm saying? I was like, I mean... If he did, he do, you don't. I mean, right. I don't know whether he did or not, but, you know what I'm saying? He was definitely more
eager.
Isaiah would also be questioned by investigators in an attempt to find out anything. At this point, they would also get search warrants for his Nissan Pathfinder and his cell phone. His story would corroborate Brandon's, but there were still areas he could clear up for the investigators, particularly their suspicions narrowing in on David, who could have had multiple hours alone with Savannah after the two men left.
Have you and Brandon talked about the possibility of something must have happened after you all left? Because, I mean, you all know nothing happened while you were there, right?
We didn't know she was asleep when we left.
Right. So she was fine when you all leave. Have you and Brandon talked about what may have happened after you all left?
Not even a possibility. Not even thought, well... I don't think David would do anything, but is it possible?
I don't think he would.
I know, but have you all discussed that possibility?
No.
So the guy that was last seen with her asleep in his house, and she's now been missing 6 or 7 days, and you don't even want to consider the fact that
I said, I can't point fingers for something I don't know.
right. I mean, I'm not saying you got any direct knowledge of it. I'm just asking you.
And we're just asking you, has it even come into your mind? I mean, you've had plenty of time to think about this, and I'm sure you've said that you're confused about it as much as we are. I mean, talk to us. I mean, as far as like what always went through your head. Like, have you ran some things through your head of what is there a possibility David could have done something? I mean, you said you don't know him as well as Brandon. You said him and Brandon, they're pretty tight.
But from talking to him at work and hang out with him, he don't seem like no bad guy.
Is he weird?
No, it's just the way he acts, and we got used to it. Like,
how's he act? Tell us about it.
Like they're real quiet, like stay to themselves at work.
So he's kind of a loner, more or less.
Yeah, unless he's talking to the guys at work.
Okay. Does he hang out with any other guys at work that you know of, or I mean?
Just me and Brandon.
Okay.
So we all have lunch every day.
Okay.
Isaiah, do you have any direct knowledge of anybody that was involved in her disappearance or her death?
No, sir.
Would that ever change? Okay. You're confident of that?
Okay.
Is there anybody you can vouch for and 100% say they had no involvement in Savannah's disappearance or death?
I didn't know for sure. I mean, Frank, we left out together, made it home, like a few minutes after each other. We let that drop them off.
So you can 100% for a fact say you and Brandon. Absolutely not.
Definitely not.
Okay.
The cell phones of Brandon and Isaiah would offer proof the two men had left in the early morning hours, just as they had said. A deep search of the Pathfinder SUV for forensic evidence turned up nothing. The search of David's home, however, was turning up all sorts of interesting, if not incriminating, items. Nowhere in the house was there any personal effects of Savannah. Not a stitch of clothing, no jewelry, nothing. They did find a bedside drawer full of condoms, as well as a .308 rifle and a Derringer-type pistol. There was also an assortment of knives in that same drawer. While those things were taken as evidence, there was also a number of blood spatters found in the bedroom and on a couple of doorways in the home. Samples were taken of each to be sent off to the crime lab for investigation. Had they found some hard evidence in those that Savannah had been killed in that house? Not yet, but they did find something disturbing. A notebook. There was a handwritten letter by David inside. The contents were chilling, particularly in light of the information they were seeking. The letter would, in part, read, "How do you explain the feeling of nothingness to a normal person? That death befalling on all those around you has no effect. I felt so alone, so damaged that I've created fake personas around everyone I know, hoping to fit in, to feel accepted. It only makes me angrier. I keep the dark, true side of myself hidden in the deepest places of my mind, and have done so successfully for years. Hell, my whole life." He would continue later in that letter, "I feel no true love for anything. Now that I know what I really am, I see a greater need to hide my true self, but I just want to be free. I stay in a constant state of aggravation. Nothing seems to help anymore." And then he writes, "How do you look your mother in the eyes and tell her you are a born psychopath? That she gave birth to a monster, someone who wouldn't care a bit to squeeze the last breath of life out of another human or to plunge a knife into their chest and smile about it?" Was this a manifesto showing that he was the person who acted on those feelings when Savannah was left alone with him? Or was this just some rambling of their worst thoughts on a bad day in a journal? They couldn't be sure, but they couldn't help but take David more seriously as a suspect. The officers canvassing the neighborhood were able to turn up security camera footage that captured David loading large black trash bags into the back of his truck and then driving off with them right after the night Savannah had been at the home. Investigators who had performed the search of the Sparks home said that it had the appearance of something that had just been cleaned. Everything was in its place, nothing disheveled, and one officer felt the bottom half of every wall had been wiped down. Had this just been David loading trash from a big cleanup of the house that morning, or was he disposing of evidence? Following up the local area landfill, investigators and cadaver dogs turned up no evidence. The state crime lab had also turned up nothing of any interest on the items sent from David's house. The blood swabs all turned out to have DNA that neither matched his or Savannah's. It was ruled most likely the spots were from a previous tenant of the house. David had only moved in there just a little over a month before. There was simply no actual evidence that any of the three men had done anything to cause the disappearance of Savannah Spurlock on January the 4th of 2019. None of the men were charged or arrested. The nearby home and property of David's parents, Alan and Alta Sparks, was also searched, including an acre or so of land around the house. At the time, no evidence turned up. A lifelong friend of David's, Haley Hinkle, who was serving time in a local jail, would even speak to detectives to give them some insight into the young man and reassure them that he was a good person.
We're just wanting to basically get a character, how his character is, how he was.
He's an amazing dude, for real. I went to jail when my little boy was almost 1. He took care of my kid. He has my kid's name on his arm. He's always been a good dude. He's always come to my rescue when I needed him.
Okay.
He's a good dude, for real. He's went to church with his mom, and Dad's always went to church with my mom. Mm-hmm. His uncle used to be a pastor at my church.
Okay. Was there anything, you told us multiple times he's a good dude, help you, and we get that, but was there any time that he might have said or done anything that was kind of out of character for him, and you'd be like, man, that's kind of weird coming from David?
No.
Never seen him do nothing or get real pissed off at somebody? Or
He's never really got angry with me. I mean, I've broke his heart 10,000 times, and he still comes back the same way he looked.
Basically making sure that, or just asking you, did he ever distribute any behaviors that was like, this is a little weird?
No.
Anything like that?
He's an awkward person until you get to know him, you know what I mean? He comes off really weird, but once you get to know him, he's not that bad.
David's attorney spoke with the police about the letter David had written, explaining that it was written during a time that David was going through a deep depression and that it didn't reflect his real, everyday personality. So the community was left waiting, wondering what happened to Savannah. Was she somewhere still alive, or was she dead? And if so, who had killed the young woman? National attention filtered down to Lexington, Kentucky, and this case. Savannah's mother, Ellen, would appear on ABC News.
I don't know where Savannah is. This is so unlike her. I believe that she could have been taken against her will. It's the worst nightmare. We're leaning on our faith in God and each other, our family, our friends. This is horrible. It's just Savannah, I would say to her, please come home to your family and friends. We miss you. We love you more than you will ever know.
In the intervening time, David had continued to work but had moved back to the home to live with his parents. Isaiah and Brandon continued on with their lives. The twins went to live with their father and older sibling. Ellen and Savannah's friends were left to wonder and worry about what might have happened, hoping someday a break would come. And then it happened. The Richmond Police Department got a call from the attorney representing Alan and Alta Sparks. They said they wanted to report a foul stench coming from a strawberry patch in their backyard. They needed the police to come down and find out what it was. As the Kentucky State Police were notified, a search warrant was obtained and a group of officers went and immediately secured the scene. In addition to state and local resources, a team of 11 FBI agents would also be dispatched to the rural Kentucky home. As those forces were moving into the area, David Sparks was driving himself to the Richmond Police Department. As officers arrived on the scene at the home, David was at the police department. He got out of the car, tossed his keys into the back seat, locked it, shut the door, and then walked into the building. He went to the front desk and told them he was going to need a lawyer. There, within a small fenced-off strawberry patch, they found the body of Savannah Spurlock. buried just 19 inches under the surface of the garden. She was naked, folded in half with her feet taped together at the ankles. She had been forced into a large black plastic trash bag along with a small accent rug, and those had been reinforced by 2 other bags over it. A small tear was in the corner where an animal had probably dug into the soil and torn it open, exposing it to the air. As crews worked to extricate the body, Alan and Alta would be interviewed by the investigators about what they had found and how they had found it.
About 2 weeks ago, I noticed I was down at the garden, and of course we weed eat and mow, and I noticed some odor. And there was a small place there in the dirt that had kind of washed away. Of course, we've had a lot of rain and different things, and it was there was a little odor, and in my view, I thought, because we live on a farm, that, you know, there's times that an animal will kill something and bury it, and that was just my initial. I thought, well, this is what's happened, so I just took a shovel and filled the thing back up, and just to cover the odor, and figured in a week or so that it would be, you know, dissolved.
Okay.
And then Tuesday, I was mowing, and it, you know, it was pretty strong down toward the fence. You know, we've got that fence down. And so after I mowed the yard with the riding mower, I took a push mower, went down and mowed around the garden and weed eated, and was looking there because, and it looked like to me there was black plastic, and so I didn't do anything. I just went ahead and finished. It was hot. I got out of the sun, and then when my wife got home, I made mention of it to her, and so, I don't know, about 30 minutes or an hour later, we went down and just to check it out.
Sure.
And, you know, you could tell some of the ground had been broke up. And I just dug around to try to, you know, see what it was, you know, what is this? And in that process, and of course it was probably 3 feet around or something too. And in that process, you know, it became apparent to us that there was a black bag here.
Okay.
And it seemed like that, you know, in the process that there was a rug. I mean, that's what I thought, wow, that looks like a rug. So with that, I said, well, we, you know, covered it back up, and that's what we done. I just took the shovel and covered it back up.
Okay.
Because there was some flies and stuff. And so we just covered it up and, you know, went up to the house, and we started discussing, well, you know, initially we thought, you know, in our views, wow, this is something that's somebody has put something here, and we thought initially that, you know, somebody has brought something in there and done it. That was our thoughts. Yeah.
Did you think that the odor and what you had observed in your garden could very likely have to do with the disappearance of Savannah Spurlock?
I mean, I was wondering, you know, with everything that's going on, but I didn't know. I just thought, well, if it is, I want to know.
Okay.
I want to know what this is. Because obviously it's not an animal. They don't use plastic to cover their...
Okay.
A search of David's room in the Sparks home would turn up items that included more black trash bags, rubber gloves, and a roll of clear packing tape. Local police would address the media not long after the finding of Savannah's body and the arrest of David Sparks. During the autopsy, 3 yards of packing tape used to bind Savannah's feet together was completely and carefully unrolled, and the ragged edge of the tape matched perfectly to the ragged edge of the packing tape roll found in David's room. A backpack found within a closet in David's room would also show tiny amounts of blood on it that matched both David and Savannah. Because of decomposition and the animal and insect damage to the body, the state medical examiner could not confirm the actual manner of Savannah's death. A ruling of homicide, however, was made with confidence based on where the body was found, the attempt to conceal it, and the unnatural way it had been positioned, bound, and placed within the bags. In the end, David Sparks would plead guilty to the murder of Savannah Spurlock. He would be sentenced to 50 years in prison for the murder and an additional 12 years for tampering with evidence and another 12 months for the abuse of a corpse. The sentences will run concurrently. Kentucky Commonwealth attorneys said that the deal for the 50-year sentence was agreed upon rather than either a life sentence or the death penalty, because they felt they could not prove without a reasonable doubt that there were aggravating circumstances in the killing. David Sparks would never say why he killed Savannah, although he would not deny having done so. Sparks is now serving his time at the Southeastern State Correctional Complex in Wheelwright, Kentucky. He will be eligible for parole in 2039. If you found this case compelling, don't forget to like the video. Comment down below your take on it, and please subscribe to the channel. Also hit the notification bell in order to stay up to date each time we reveal a new shocking case. Until next time, stay safe and keep your eyes peeled. You never know what's lurking in the shadows.